are live.
Indeed, you guys are.
Green flag is out again on another GoFast podcast. Good evening, everyone. Along with Kelly Jeffries, I'm Rob Hinckley, Sonny Wynn, and Jacob Hoffman over on the controls. GoFast podcast brought to you by 1-800-WATER Damage of the Quad Cities. Water, mold, smoke, sewage damage. Call 1-800-WATER Damage. We restore what matters most. And Done Right TV and Security, building your smart home from the TV up. And we're the best in dish, TV, internet, Google Nest, Ring, Mesh Wi-Fi, and all your favorite brands. Also brought to you by Varium Racing. If it can race, Varium will have it on the track. By Bibster Promotions, check out the Bibster podcast, live streaming, and social media hosting on Bibster's Facebook page. And by Simply Modified, the official photographer of Maquoketa Speedway. Check out Simply Modified on Facebook for the action photos you missed. Glad you are with us. We are live on Facebook, live on YouTube, and if you're picking us up on demand, all the podcasts, we got Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're on Google Play. Kelly Jeffries, we just keep getting bigger and better all the time.
Yeah, here we go, huh?
Here we go. Absolutely. Very pleased to have a good friend of mine, champion racer, and we're going to talk with Brad Cook a little bit later on. Mr. Cook, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Glad to be on board.
Hey, we're glad you're here. And we got a lot to talk with Brad about here in just a little bit. We start off the show like we always do with our results brought to you by 1-800-WATER Damage, restoring what matters most. Not a whole lot going on local the last week. The Bull Ring had a volunteer day yesterday. A lot of cleanup and painting accomplished. Jenny Smith reported on her Facebook page the judges' stand is being redone, and I'm eternally grateful for that. And preparation still underway around the facility ahead the April 5th practice and season opener on Sunday, April 12th, which is Easter Sunday. Farmer City Raceway held the first of several preseason practices yesterday afternoon. A handful of local cars made the trek just to shake things down. Nick Prohl and his new hobby stock was one of those. 5 nights of racing in so far for the Summit US MTS National Championship, fueled by Casey's. 58 shows at 33 tracks are part of that modified chase, including Cedar County Raceway in Tipton on June 17th. Texan Rodney Sanders, the current point leader. They just finished up the Texas Spring Nationals in Enos, Texas. Missourian Hunter Marriott was the final night's winner. Iowan Zach Vanderbeek took third in that final feature and was the only Iowan in the 40-car field. He also made Friday's feature and finished 19th. And there's your results from this week, brought to you by 1-800-WATER Damage, restoring what matters most. Time now to go around the track, around the room, powered by Varium Racing. We're just going to go around the table on this past week's racing experiences. And Kelly, what's been going on in your mind and in your world of racing here the last week?
Well, that's a race, that's for sure in my mind. I haven't been paying attention to much racing. I'm ready, man. I am so ready to get out there. I've been kind of keeping an eye on Peterson's over there, putting more dirt down over at the Bull Ring. Just ready to get out there. I'm going crazy. I need to get out there. But, yeah, just ready. I'm ready.
Excellent. Hey, we bring in Brad Cook. And Brad, racing this past week, I know you got a lot on your mind family-wise, too, when it comes to the racing.
Most definitely. Great nephew Austin Riggs getting his street stock back together once again. Going to bring her out there and see if he can't get his first checkered going this year.
Good deal. How close is he coming?
He's getting pretty close. I'm guessing by the end of the month he's going to have her really close if he doesn't have it done. His dad also, Tom Riggs Jr., will be also having his car ready to go this year. And we're looking forward to seeing him back out there after about a 5-year hiatus. So it's going to be fun to get them all back out there again. Yep. Like Kelly, I really got the itch going on.
It's one of those things where, for a while it's not... Yeah, I can do it. But then you and I were sitting around the table the other night and showing each other photos and all that, and that got me jacked up and ready to go again.
Absolutely. It's kind of nice to look at the old pictures again, bring back some memories, and kind of wish I was still behind the wheel, but, old age is catching up to me along with a little bit of money situation. So,
absolutely. And yeah, as far as racing for me, that's what got me kicked up again, was looking at some of the photos from a year ago and years past, and then keeping an eye on what's going on over at the Bull Ring, and then seeing just how jacked up people are to get going. And Nick Prohl tows about 200 miles to go down and shake his car down at Farmer City. So that's how people are, and that's around the track, around the room, powered by Varium Racing. And time for our live look. Our live look 1 brought to you by Bipster Promotions and Brad Cook with us again. And Brad, in 1990, what year did you win the?
1993.
1993, the street stock champion out at the old Hawkeye Raceway in Bluegrass. And let's just start there. I mean, when did you become involved in racing? And I know you're part of the Riggs family, and I remember watching Tom Riggs Sr. When I was little and that kind of thing. So how did you get going?
My dad, him and Tom Riggs, my brother-in-law, and I actually had another brother-in-law at the time, Ron Vernon, was also involved with it when I was just a little guy running around. And they all ran the cars, and my brothers raced, and once I got old enough to get behind the wheel, then it was my turn. We definitely struggled through it the first years, so we finally figured out it's more than just putting an engine in a car and going racing. Get it all set up, and we finally figured it out in the early 90s at the Hawkeye Raceway. It's a great time.
And when you go back into the 80s and you get going and that kind of thing, obviously you had your dad by your side also. That had to be a big help.
Absolutely. He was, but for him, there was no track championship. He was the man behind the car. He built the engines. I just kind of got in it and drove it. And I learned with the experience of wheeling it around the track over the years, and but was fortunate enough to capture a championship in the 90s. So
whatever you did, what gave you the itch to get behind the wheel?
Again, just my whole family be involved in it, between just regular dirt racing and demo derbies and everything else, and wrenching on the cars all the years. I just, the thrill of getting behind there and seeing if I could do it myself. And it took some dedication to get to that point. And fortunately, I was able to pull one out in 93, but it wasn't for a lot of hard work and a lot of years along the way. We got her done.
No doubt about it. Okay, I need to know about the number. Why? I think way back when you were 27 and then switched to number 5. What's behind all the numbers?
Well, I was actually 27 to begin with. My favorite driver when I was a little guy was Stan Woody. He was my favorite. So when I got back behind the wheel for the first time, I was 27. And years later, got a car back together again and went to number 75 for a while. And that was just a combination of my dad's two numbers when they had built cars, number 7 and number 5. So we put them both together to get that one. Then when I first did get matched up with my dad, we came out as number 75 there as well. And just one night while we were building the car, my dad just says to me, "Do you think it'd be okay to go down to one single number?" Because he always would prefer that. I said, "Sure, which one do you want?" He said, "Let's go back to the original roots," and that was number 5. And first car they ever had years ago was, I believe it was a 66 Ford station convertible. Number 5, sponsored by Quad City Automatic Sprinklers. That's where it all began. We've been going ever since.
Once you got to that 1993 season, you'd had some successful seasons and knew your way around the track. Take us through that season. What was it like?
The 1993 season?
Yes.
That was great. The worst finish I had through the whole year was 3rd. Won a lot of races that season. In fact, I won more than I lost. And it was just a great year. We had to do very little work to the car, and things just came completely together that season. And it's like we could do no wrong. We'd start
like that once in a while, huh?
Yeah, it was great. After all the years of working so hard in '93, it just all came together and paid off, and it got easy, if you will, to win some races. And it wasn't working near as hard anymore, and just like I all of a sudden knew what I was doing, if you will, and I could wheel it around there pretty easy. And we learned a lot from just talking to some of the other drivers and some of the other owners along the way, and we got the information we needed to have to finally get it across into victory lane, and it's great.
Well, Hawkeye Raceway has always been, I mean, it even has its own Facebook page and doesn't even exist anymore. So what was it? What was the thrill and the draw to old Hawkeye Raceway?
It was great. It was Saturday night racing out there. It was like one big family came together every Saturday night to go out on a racetrack and challenge each other. And the camaraderie was beyond any I could ever explain. If I could have it back in a minute, I'd take it. Austin's kind of somewhat experiencing the same kind of stuff now with his family, his racing family, if you will. I tell people all the time, if it wasn't for racing, I wouldn't have half the friends that I do. And it's just completely, it's hard to explain. It's once you get around the racing and being around those people, and you look forward every Saturday night when you got a rain out, you were almost depressed. You know, it's getting there. It wasn't even so much as winning the race. It was just being around all the folks and wrenching on the cars, and everybody helped everybody. And I wish racing could get that way again. It would be great.
Sure. How have you seen it, your personal opinion, it's progressed to now? That obviously the money and that kind of thing. But what other kind of things do you see the way that it's progressed from championship season in '95 to now?
Well, it's the money thing, like you just said. That's a big part of it, and it separated the group. Now you got your street stock outlaws that are just, you got 4 or 5 of them that are just blowing everybody away and winning every week. But back in the '90s, you had 10 cars or more going for the win every week, and 30, 35, even 40 cars would show up as opposed to 15. I kind of like the street stock outlaws, don't get me wrong, but it's a money game when you're in there. That's why my favorite class right now is the hobby stocks, and it can get some of the guys that maybe would like to race that might be able to wheel a car really good. It gives them the chance to get back into it again, and maybe we could see some future stars rising again, and maybe get some people back in the stands once again.
When you first saw the 4-cylinders back in the day, what was your thought, and how has that progressed?
Well, I actually got to drive one for one night, and I got out of the car. I just said that wasn't for me. I wanted to go a little faster. But it is a good class for an up-and-coming driver. I just think that if they put them behind the wheel of a hobby stock, it's going to give more of an opportunity of what they're actually kind of a car they're going to be into going forward. It's not something that's front-wheel drive, and it's going to show them a way how to wheel the car around a track a little bit better than what a 4-cylinder does. That's just my opinion on that one. If they want to get the experience, I think they should just jump right into a hobby stock. And if I understand right, the Petersons are going to run hobby stock this year, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
I think that's a great opportunity for a lot of people to come up and try that class out.
So we need one of them.
Yes, we need one of them.
We need one of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Put that on the list.
We'll add that. Oh wait, I added that to the list 3 weeks ago. So
We need to get busy with that. We need to get a car. We need a race car.
Yeah, it'd be a good one to have.
Well, and I even checked with Corey Peterson this week as far as, since they are adding the hobby stocks and who locally has them, and there's actually 4 or 5 that are being built. There was already one going, and we were just talking about Nick Prohl. He moving up from the 4-cylinders, and there's a couple new ones being built as well. So somebody's getting the itch with them.
That's great. The more the merrier. I go every Friday night. I'm at the Davenport Speedway, and occasionally I'll get over there to the bull ring. But I want to see that crowd back filling them stands again, like it was back when I was a kid, where you're standing room only at the fairgrounds. And we got to progress and figuring out what's going to do that and what's going to make that happen.
So what were the car counts? But you mentioned it was like 30 cars versus like 10 to 15 like nowadays. You have 100 cars on a nightly or a weekly show, 120 what?
I'm going to guess at Hawkeye Raceway they probably averaged, well, it was well over 100, probably closer to the 150
on a weekly show.
On a weekly show.
Wow, how do we do that again?
I don't know. It's make it more affordable. It needs to be more affordable. Then I think you get some more people out there that's willing to, hey, let's give this a shot. And then they just got to work for it. How bad do they want it after that? Take some of the money out of the game and make it become a driver's game again. And I think you'll start to bring in some more car count.
Where do you see from the technical aspect? Of course, a lot of the tracks are IMCA sanctioned, and so there's certain money that you just got to throw into the car to make it legal. But what can we do from that standpoint? I mean, is IMCA the way to go? Do we got to go back to individual rules? What do you think? I
think when it comes to street stock, it's my opinion. I think that's a beginner's class. That's your ground floor, and I think we pull the IMCA away from that. It's going to give them a better opportunity to get somebody in there to give it a shot. Take some of the sanctioning bargaining sanctions away from there, and you'll be all right. I don't say go back down to the 7-inch tire like it was when it first came out, because that was just a bad idea. A lot of wrecks, and it put people's lives in danger. But keep your 7-inch tires, but make it so, get them a cheaper rule and say street stocks can't run brand new tires, but they got to start getting the used tires off the modified guys, something like that. Because I'm 99% sure they can probably get a pretty good load of them, and even at a cheaper price. But they got to run the used tires. And back in my day, we had an engine claim going on, and tell you what, that kept the money out of your motor. You didn't do it. I mean, I did get claimed a couple times over the years, but I didn't care. I didn't have any money invested in a motor. See ya. Old buddy Dale Fishline taught me that. He taught me how to help get a motor together and keep the money out of it and still be competitive. And luckily, I had a friend like him that could assist in that way.
So I've heard about that, but do they do that anymore? Do they do like shock claims or anything like that anymore?
They do, but it's very rare these days.
I hear people talking about it, but I never hear it ever actually happening.
Yeah, they got the crate motors and they got the claimer motors and stuff like that. But I can't remember the last time I seen a motor claimed. And I believe just a year, not last year, maybe the year before that, Davenport, somebody got their shocks claimed. I want to say maybe Tony Olson got his claimed. Back in my day, that's another thing. Like right now, they're spending a couple $1,000s just on shocks these days. And each. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't think I had $2,000 in my car. Maybe a little better than that, but it was much more low budget, and it was a lot funner when you could go to the salvage yard and buy an A-frame when you bent one, or walk next door to your buddy at the truck over there and grab an A-frame off of him. Right. I'll get you back. No problem. Here you go. Get what you need.
Well, I remember I bought my first race car for $150 from a guy in Cedar Rapids, and Brad got to drive it back there. And I don't think he ever wanted to drive it again, but at least I knew what it could do because he was fast. He was a good driver, and made it run over at East Moline without a doubt. But like you said, that's when it was fun. You can find an old car for $150 and do a little of this, a little of that to it, and I probably had $1,000, $1,500 wrapped up in that car, and that was it.
Yep, it was just a whole lot more fun. I mean, there was a year, in fact, it was my first or second year, I got in some pretty good accidents with the car and just wiped out the whole car. And in a weekend, you could throw another one together, and you never missed a week. You just get out there and you're right back out there again.
I like it.
And it was a blast. And my God, like I say, if you wrecked a car, it wasn't a big deal. You went to the salvage yard and you picked up another one, threw your roll cage in it, and you went back racing again.
Brett Sievertson, watching from Davenport Speedway, had him on the show, and he says if given the time to build, the hobby stocks could grow huge. He thinks.
I agree, 100%. I did go to Maquoketa over the last few years and got to watch them run up there, and it was my favorite racing of the night. Much more competitive. Again, you had 5 or 6 cars up there battling every lap, every corner, instead of 1 or 2 walking off and leaving the rest of the group behind. And competitive racing is going to put people in the stands rather than, I already know who's going to win. Why should I go?
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Talking with Brad Cook here on GoFast podcast. Kelly Jeffries, I'm Rob Hinckley, and Brad, the 95, right? 93. I don't know why I got 5. 1993 street stock champion out at Hawkeye Raceway in Bluegrass, and been around racing his whole life. The Cooks and the Riggs, and now is Austin your nephew or great nephew?
Great nephew.
Great nephew.
Mm-hmm.
Austin Riggs, and he's going in. How many years has he been driving now?
I want 5, maybe 5 or 6, something like that. Yeah. The first night he ever got in a race car was that night I drove the 4-cylinder. I drove with the heat race, and he drove with the feature that night.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good deal. Well, we got a lot more with Brad during the show. Our Live Look 1 brought to you by Bipster Promotions. And time now to start our Guess the Driver. It's brought to you by Done Right TV. We take answers on the Done Right Facebook page, and if you are the winner, stop in to Done Right at 1414 West Locust Street, and we have a T-shirt for you. And either it'll be a Jeremiah Hurst or an Andy Nazworski T-shirt when you come in. And so we will start off with a couple clues. First of all, this is a Sport Mod driver, and it's a car number. We were talking about car numbers and double digit, and Brad went down to single digit when he won his track championship and that kind of thing. He drives a single digit car number, and even though he doesn't live in the Quad City area, he is well known at Davenport Speedway. So Sport Mod driver, single digit car number. and a very good driver at Davenport Speedway. So guess on the Facebook page, the Done Right TV Facebook page. Don't guess on my Facebook page. Somebody won a couple weeks ago, but they were taking the guesses on the Done Right TV Facebook page. So again, Sport Mod driver, single-digit number on the car, and he does not live in the Quad City area, but he's a very good driver at Davenport Speedway. In fact, top 5 in points a year ago. So that's our Guess the Driver. We'll have more clues, brought to you by Done Right TV. Time now to go up on the wheel. Just take a racing topic, and we're just going to go around the table and talk about it. And we talk about NASCAR some, but not a whole lot. I actually asked 100 people around the Quad Cities. Okay, maybe 8. Well, maybe it was 6. But I asked them about the new schedule. This year they came out with the new schedule, and out of the 6, 4 of them didn't know, or I should say 2 of them didn't know what I was talking about. But they redid the schedule this year. And so Miami is not the last race of the season. The last race of the season is Phoenix, and they're going to do that every year. So they moved the Miami race to the end of March. And so I asked, and out of the 4 that answered, 3 of them went down to Speed Weeks and said, you know what would have been really good is if, because we go down, watch, Volusia Speedway or the other racetracks, and then go watch Daytona. What would be nice is that the very next weekend they go to Miami and race, but they don't. It was Daytona the middle of February. They don't go to Miami till the end of March, and so the 4 people that gave me an answer on that talked about that. So I wanted to give everybody's opinion as far as would that be a good deal to run Daytona and then right away run Homestead the next week.
Absolutely. They got to take money out of their game too. We discussed this earlier tonight. If they don't start saving some money, there's going to be 8 cars running in the NASCAR races every week, and that's going to completely die out when it gets to that point. They're not even fielding a full field of cars anymore, and it's going to diminish every year until they start to cutting some money out of the game there too as well.
Well, I don't think it's just NASCAR either, right? I mean, I think it's everything.
It's all racing, absolutely.
It's racing. It's sports. I mean, in my opinion, it's down the line. There's too much money getting dealt out at the top.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it would make a big difference to have it all lumped up down there.
Well, and one person even went further and said, well, why wouldn't they do Daytona, Homestead, and then Atlanta? 3 weekends in a row, boom. And because that also, I mean, in my opinion, they're not thinking of the fans when they spread it out like that.
Most definitely not. The benefits from that would be huge of just keeping it all together. Plus, what the teams usually bring 2 or 3 cars with them every week when they go. It's not like they got to drive back to the shop. They still got a car with them.
One argument though that just came to my mind is do you think it might be too much on the fans to have 3 races back to back to back like that in one area? Because maybe that's why they're trying to spread it out, because maybe a lot of people can't afford to go to 3 separate races right there, lump, boom, boom, boom. Because I'm sure. I've went to Daytona. That's not a cheap trip.
No, that's for sure.
Especially for Bike Week, or not Bike Week, but Speed Week, or the Daytona 500. I've been there, and so maybe they're taking. I don't know. It's just that's one of them things.
That's a pretty good thought. Yeah.
Because it might make a big difference. There's probably a lot of people that couldn't nail them all 3 in a row, but if you spaced them out throughout the season, they might be able to. Maybe I don't know. It's just a different perspective.
No, I totally agree. And somebody said, well, I kind of get it because you're talking Southern Florida compared to everybody's come down for Speed Weeks and they're on Daytona and that's a big thing. And two, one person, told me, well, I go down and watch the dirt track and then leave. I don't even go to Daytona. So, out of the handful of people that gave me answers, one of them said, yeah, I'd probably stick around one more week and go to Miami. But everybody else said, either no, Daytona's good enough, and I'm not going to spend the money for a second NASCAR week, let alone a second week in Florida after I've already been there a full week watching dirt track racing or stuff like that. So it does get costly. Then let alone if you throw it in Atlanta or something along that line.
Yeah, I think I'd rather go to Florida and watch a couple dirt track races myself. But.
Yeah, wouldn't be bad. I've never been down there for Speed Week, but I think it'd be kind of fun.
Absolutely. When I lived down there, I didn't go once to a couple of. I mean, it was $39 a night. To go to Volusia, you know, and some people, you know, and my friends down there, they'd go one night, maybe 2 nights, something like that. But it's, you know, unless they really cater to the travelers during speed weeks, even at the dirt tracks.
Well, that's if they want to get people in the stands, they better do that.
Right. Well, and the only reason I was thinking about this is because when, you know, they packed up after Daytona and they go out west and they went Vegas, California, and Phoenix in 3 consecutive weeks, and so that's what got me thinking, well, why not Daytona, Homestead, and Atlanta to start the season off, then maybe go out west. But
yeah, I would definitely not want to be sending them back and forth across the states, you know, one into the coast to the next and then back, and it seems like they'd have stops in between they'd want to hit first.
Right.
I still like to see a nice race come to Iowa Speedway personally.
It would be, and the only thing I can think of is the seating capacity, but that may not may not support a cup race. But
it will nowadays. It was 5 years ago.
True story.
Definitely. Well, one thing I did like about the Phoenix racetrack, because when I lived out west, I went to the first cup race in Phoenix, and actually yesterday, that brings up another thing. I did not notice that Monster Energy is now no longer the Cup sponsor. They just call it the NASCAR Cup Series, and they're doing cross promotion and stuff like that with like 4 or 6 longtime sponsors, Busch and Coke and Geico and somebody else. But I didn't even know the Cup Series wasn't sponsored until yesterday.
I didn't either. Wow, that's crazy.
It is crazy, and all they're doing they're just upping the levels of sponsorship for those major sponsors. But if you look at Phoenix, they started there in 1988, and I went to that race, and Alan Kulwicki won, and they showed shots on Fox up on the mountain, right? They call it Rattlesnake Mountain, and that was the big hangout. I mean, you $10 tickets, and you can go up there and take the lawn chairs and that kind of thing. And you can see there's a couple streams of people, but not a whole lot. And the stands were all and that was turn 3 and 4. Well, now that's turn 1 and 2, and they've rebuilt the stands completely over on what used to be the old turns 1 and 2, and and then it comes crazy out of that dog leg and that kind of thing. But anyway, the way NASCAR is going, and not sure exactly what they're getting, but had a good crowd at Phoenix, so it seems to me that it's up and down depending on the race, Kelly.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. I haven't tuned in to NASCAR in years. I don't know.
The only reason I've watched the last 2 weeks is because and I left Vegas before they built that big track, but I went to all those races in Phoenix, so I just want to kind of see what it's like. But again, NASCAR has changed so much since 1988 when I went, Brad.
Absolutely, the stands. Even when I've been going to the races, I used to go down to Atlanta. We went several years in a row, and just each year you could see the crowd diminishing just while we was going down there. And it was for different various reasons, whether they just couldn't afford it, you know, the family vacation, or that's what they're going to book it. We're going to go to a race for family vacation. You know, that's a tough ticket to sell to your family every single year, I'm thinking. And then the
especially
price,
when it's the same guys winning too, right?
Exactly. You know, you got
same 5 guys running, and
yeah,
you know,
everybody wins the same races every week. And personally, I would get tired of that. You know, come on, let's mix it up a little bit. I mean, I get part of the lucky dog stuff, but part of me still doesn't really care for that. You know, let's stop giving them chances. Let's put it back the way it used to be. You got 4 hours to get to the lead. If you get a flat tire, how is it the guy's fault that you got a flat tire? You should have put more air in the tire, you know, or whatever the case may be. I get it partially as well because the sponsors want their money. They want to see their car running up front. But you know what, those guys that putting around in the back every week, those sponsors want to see their car in the front too.
No doubt about it. Well, and they used to have it where the lap cars started on the inside row and the lead cars started on the outside row. Now that's completely gone as well.
Agreed. I forgot about that. That's true. And sometimes old isn't so bad. Back things up a little bit.
No doubt about it. Well, that's our on the wheel topic for today, talking about the NASCAR schedule brought to you by Done Right TV. And we got our driver of the week coming up, but some more guess the driver clues. We already told you he's a sport mod driver. He has a single-digit car number, and he doesn't live in the Quad City areas, but he is very good at Quad City area tracks, including Davenport Speedway, where I'm not going to tell you what place he finished last year, but I'll tell you it's top 5. And let's see, he just turned 52 years old in December. And his kids are part of his pit crew. Tell you about that. And his first championship was at the Dubuque Speedway. So that's the next guess the driver clues. And so again, sport mod driver from out of this area, had a top 5 finish at Davenport last year. His kids are on his pit crew. In fact, his kids are going to be driving this year. And his very first championship was at Dubuque Speedway. So anybody that wants to guess on the Done Right Facebook page, you can. We got a T-shirt for you coming up as well. Driver of the week. Again, we haven't gotten into a whole lot of racing, but I'll put one out on the table, and I'm glad to see Nick Prohl. He just dominated in the 4 cylinders last year, the number 101, and he's moving up to hobby stocks. And he already has the thing out, and was pretty happy with it on his test journey down to Farmer City yesterday. So, Nick Prohl, you got my vote for driver of the week. Anybody else got one that you want to may have raced, may not have raced so far?
I haven't talked to anybody that's even had their cars out this year yet, so I'm not going to be a whole lot of help on that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Austin Riggs, your great nephew, but he had a strong showing at the end of the year last year, and was running right up front, and so what do you think as far as that experience that he got and got the car running and moving into this year?
Well, he did find some issues with his motor that he had. It's kind of cutting some horsepower out, and he's got that all updated now, and we're hoping, like I say, if anything else, he can capture his first heat race this year. I mean, it don't get much more low-budget racing than Austin he's got out there. But you know what? If his heart could win races, he'd win them all. And he's out there charging like crazy. And whether he's in the front or in the back, I want to be out there cheering him on. So we'll give him every push across the line we can get him to go to.
Good deal. Hey, we got a winner. Jerry Miles, indeed. Kevin Feller. Kevin Feller is the winner of our T-shirt. Kevin is, of course, the track manager up at the Jackson County Speedway this year. And, Jerry Miles is definitely Sport Mod number 4. He's from Bernard, Iowa. He finished second in the Sport Mods at Davenport Speedway last year. And his kids are both going to be racing, been part of his pit crew for a long time. They're good kids. And so I didn't even get to all my clues again. Boy, these people are getting good.
Yeah, they're on you, man. They're on you.
They are. They are. Yep. Jerry Miles is the Brett Severson guested. Bo, our winner last week, also got it. Ricky Kai got it as well. So yeah, Jerry Miles, our winner, or our guest the driver. Time now. We move on to our tech tip of the week, and just from what you've seen, Brad, with the street stocks and that kind of thing, we've already talked a lot of tech and where it's gone from. Back in the day, as I call it, and in the future. Just what kind of things are you seeing that are kind of dominant on the short track technical stuff?
Well, I think the weight jacks on the wheels make all the difference in the world in street stocks. You could adjust the weights around and make that car handle a lot better. Those were non-existent back in the day. You just had to figure it out between tire staggers and your shock adjustments and whatever you could get a decent gas charge shock. I know so a lot of them are running the MSD ignitions and everything like that. That helps them, give them a lot more horsepower, getting them around the track. There are just so many different changes that have come to the cars over the years. Engine setbacks, upper control arm placements and stuff like that. are now allowed. That makes all the difference in the world how you get that car on the track.
And one of the things that has come to play, and we talked about this with Corey and Corey Peterson, Brett Severson as well, is the lower A arms, I think. And so we'll talk about that a little bit too.
A lot of I don't know what drivers were involved, but I was hearing that some of the guys were running the old Nova lower control arms last year. That gave them the advantage. They got the rule setting. You're supposed to run frame according. Control arms, and they're getting away with running whatever they wanted to for the most part to give them that advantage. On the tech side of things, I did do a little teching at Maquoketa and the Davenport Speedway. They need to get back to making people stick to the rules. Even back when I was racing, sometimes the guys were allowed to run double pumper carburetor just because that's what they had on their car. No, if you're going to set a rule, let's stick to it. And tech them out right. The guys all know what they're allowed to run, and by pushing the rules sure doesn't help get more people back into the racing scene, if you will. And I think we need to get a better control on that again.
And what we heard from both Brett and Brett especially last week, we were talking about, and we just hear this word is be consistent.
Absolutely. I mean, they've got to be consistent, and you're gonna say one can run it, then everybody but should get the run, or vice versa, and then just hold your line, and no means no. And back in the day, in my day anyway, I seen several guys be made to load it back up, take it home. You were allowed to, and gave the grace to run it that 1 week, but have it corrected by the next week, and they would still push the limits, and then they were just told load it up, take it home.
As a tech inspector, what kind of leverage were you given along that line?
Not much, to be honest with you. Scott Rule was mainly the head guy I was with there. He was the IMCA guy we referred to, and Randy Anderson, of course. And he got the final say. I could point to things out, and then he would get to say load it up, or what the final deal was there. I remember the Street Stock 50 up to Davenport, and we made them pull their distributors so we could check, and that was the biggest enforcing of the rules I had ever seen since I've been while I was teching. Is the drivers we're gonna push our car to the pit area, and they were told, no, you move it, you're going to be disqualified. And I think it needs to be at that point. Just don't let up, don't ease up, and don't let them get away with what you already know that they're doing illegally.
Sure.
Yep.
What Kelly, what kind of things are you hearing from like Ken Roberts and Jeremiah Hurst and that kind of thing? They're going with the open shows, and they having any struggles, challenges, or they like the new tech stuff that they're hitting?
Yeah, they're trying out a lot of new things. They always do. I mean, Ken does an amazing job of keeping track of everything and doing all that stuff. And they're going into a whole new uncharted ground too, So, but they're the team to do it because they're good. I mean, they work very well together. They're not going out there to try to win every race. They're going to do the best they can, and they're going to learn something in every show. So that's I think important. They're going to be consistent. And Maya's a great driver, and their team is great. So they're going to. I think they're going to do a lot of good. I really do, and I know it's a totally different ball game for them, but I really think that they're going to do better than they expect. I really do, because they got what it takes. I think.
No doubt about it.
Definitely have what it takes.
Former IMCA national champion and heading out on the Open Tour, a lot of MLRA and all that, and all part of the Done Right race team, along with Team Done Right, along with Tyler Soppe, and hopefully we'll have them both on next Monday.
We'll give them a call. Hopefully they'll be available to do that.
Yeah, and I know Soppe, weather permitting, heading to Beatrice, Nebraska, and I always thought it was Beatrice, but somebody told me it was Beatrice, Nebraska. So,
no,
yeah, what do I know? And so, anyway, there's our tech tip for today. We're going to head to our live look 2, and we got a chance way back when. I can't even tell you what the date was anymore. Over at the 37th Rod and Custom Show, Kelly and Sonny and I, we spent the entire weekend there and got to talk to a lot of great people. One of those was Leanne Peterson from Cordova International Raceway. And now remember, we did this back in January, so she's going to mention, I know one thing that happened on February 8th, they had to clean up and that kind of thing, so she mentions that, but gives us a good preview of what's coming up at Cordova International Raceway. Hey, we're back here at the 37th Rod and Custom Show at the QCCA Expo Center. We have Leanne Peterson from Cordova International Raceway. And first of all, Leanne, it's winter. It's time to get racing, isn't it?
Oh my God, yes, we cannot wait. We are so excited for the season to start. Oh my Lord. I just can't wait. Can't wait.
Hey, what kind of things do you have planned at Cordova this year?
Coming up on February 8th, we have what we call our Winter Fest. It's a new event this year. It's for anybody that has any four-wheelers, snowmobiles, anybody that wants to bring the kids out. They can come out at that time and go over safety stuff with them and just have a little bit of area to ride around and in a secluded stuff. We have our final round. It'll be open, a bar for the adults. Other than that, I think it's 11 to 4 and $10 a person, and just come on out and have a good time.
Well, what a great way just to shake the winter rust off and everything, huh?
Exactly. We plan on having it open anytime that it snows or anything. If there's snow on the ground, we're hoping to be open if this goes over pretty well.
Great. Hey, as we get into the racing season, when do you expect to start and that kind of thing?
I do believe our season opener is April 15th. Don't quote me on that date. I haven't looked at a schedule yet today to get prepared. But we have volunteer days coming up in April. And then our first big event, I do believe, is June 6th. It's the Nostalgia Nationals. We have the Ozark Mountain Super Shifters. The Nostalgia Pro Stocks will be there. And just a whole bunch of nostalgia cars will be in the house doing what they do and putting on a good show.
Yeah, well, the dirt tracks where we've done sanctioning, that kind of thing. Cordova sanctioned by IHRA and NHRA?
IHRA is our sanctioning body. We follow all their rules on their rule books, and we also have a set of track rules that you can find on our website, www.racecir.com. We're in the midst of revamping that website, so it might not be up yet. Give us a few weeks. Then our Facebook, we're always making Facebook posts and whatnot. We're going to start doing giveaways and stuff like that. So it'll be exciting for the 2020 season. We're all happy, so we're excited.
Well, we were talking before we went on the air, and a lot of drag cars over a few roads down, and they're all part of Cordova, correct?
They are. We got the Ences with their 2 junior dragsters and the Chevelle that races with the Ozark Mountain Super Shifters over at the car shop. We've got Matt Wiedemeyer on the back side of our booth. He's there with his blown dragster and his motorcycle that he just bought, and it's for sale. Other than that, I mean, I haven't had a chance to walk around. Our booth's been so busy. We're excited, and everybody's just coming by and getting our season schedules and whatnot. So, yeah.
So, yeah, and I noticed like you just said, you got the schedules out and everything.
Yes, we have schedules out. We tried to get everything printed off and get it down here. We have a couple other shows to go to in the midst, but all of our schedules are getting printed and on their way. So we're prepared for this season.
And it always seems Cordova's right there. Everybody wants to go fast.
Of course. There's nothing better. Nothing better. I'm constantly watching videos online and everything during the winter just to get my little fix that I need. It's amazing. Definitely.
What has kept Cordova successful over the years, do you think?
The family atmosphere, I think. The family atmosphere. I grew up at Cordova. My dad used to race a 55 Chevy, my brother a 68 Camaro. That got me into it. I put my dad in the water box and dialed his car for him and adjusted the carburetor, believe it or not, and just did stuff for him. And I loved that. It was a good family-oriented atmosphere. And that's what we're trying to continue to bring on for the 2020 season.
People that have been around here for a long time, when they think Cordova, they think the World Series of drag racing. Can you talk anything about that for 2020?
The big daddy of them all. We're excited. There will be press releases coming out very soon about who's going to be there and whatnot. It's going to be an action-packed show as usual. We're changing it up a little bit this year, so hopefully everybody will be a little bit more excited about that. Just order tickets and come on out. That's all I can say.
Awesome, man. You were great. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's Leanne Peterson from Cordova International Raceway here live at the Expo Center. Taking the time back then, and she's excited about the season coming up. World Series of Drag Racing. I saw it on Facebook the other day. I think it's the weekend of August 28th and 29th. Back in the day when we were growing up, it was always Labor Day weekend, but it left the area, came back August 28th and 29th, the World Series of Drag Racing, and so we still got some time to fill. And you know, one of the things I was thinking about this week, guys, and what kind of thing, you know, we went back and I think our very first guests on the show, we were talking about you know, Phil Roberts and Paul Libby hosted Around the Track, the radio show back in the day, and what we could bring to the not only the Quad City area, but we want to expand our reaches. So I'm looking for input also. We want to give some more stuff away. We want to what kind of things do the fans want to hear, and that kind of thing. And what do you guys think? What makes up a good racing show like this on a local basis?
Well, I think the Kais are going to do a great job at Davenport Speedway. You know, what they run 5 weeks last year, whatever it was just amazing. I heard nothing but good things out of people in the stands. Said, you know, the comments like, "This is the kind of race that I want to come see," and you know, taking care of your track and taking care of your fans and is going to help. You know, word of mouth, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the best things you can get out there for racetracks, and they're doing just a fantastic job. I'm really excited about this racing season. You know, I understand that the Petersons and the Kais are working together, and I think that's fantastic, because now I can get the guys to run both tracks and get the same things going, and just get more interest back into the sport out around here again. And I think it'll make all the difference in the world for us going forward.
No doubt about it. How about our little show here? What do you think, Kelly? And where do you see it going in the future?
I'll tell you, just backing up what Brad said here.
Yeah.
I don't know if people realize what we've really got here, and this is what gets me so excited. Is we've got the Kais here in Davenport, we got the Petersons in East Moline, and so we got a pretty good little trifecta here. That we're all trying to do the same thing. We're trying to get people out at the track. We're trying to get people that can't come to the track to be able to tune in from anywhere in the world or in the country world, and it's all about the people you're with, right? It's all about the people you're working with. Now we've got a couple great drivers out there, and there's a lot more drivers out there, and you know, the show. I've been wanting to do this show for a while, and you know, I brought it up before. I grew up by Chicago at Grundy County Speedway, and it's asphalt, and I didn't even know dirt track was any different until about a few years ago. And it was when I started hanging out with Maya's team, following them around, that I, you know, this is such a great sport, and I noticed that nobody paid attention to anything that's going on. I mean, a newspaper, nobody said about. And I can remember when I was a kid, I can remember seeing the driver winning in the newspaper, right? Because there's the guy I followed or whatever, you know. And I'm like, man, that ain't cool. I mean, these guys work their butts off, you know, during the week, just like us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just like the Kais and the Petersons, that, you know, they have jobs they do. They don't do it, you know, they do what they can. They do the best they can. And this is kind of where I'm kind of turned off on regular sports, man. Is ever since I started hanging out with these, you know, with and not just, you know, the teams around here, but I mean, I've chased Maya all over the country. I went down to St. Louis. I mean, you know, it's a blast, and it's something that if you haven't been to a race, and that's why I'm doing this, because you know, I take my kid once in a while. There's a lot of people that I've introduced to this that started going, and we want to bring it into people's homes too, you know. But we just wait until you see what we're bringing, man, because these guys. We got a giant TV that we're going to be able to bring out. I mean, we're doing this right, you know. No pun intended. You know, done right. It's going to be done right. And we have three very motivated and passionate groups working together. I got goosebumps, man. I mean, that's a good thing, and that's hard to find, you know, because there's so much anymore. There's so much battle back and forth with a lot of things that we do, and I don't see that with these guys. Everybody's going to be working together. I'm going to do everything I can, and and hopefully at the end of the day, or at the end of the season, you know, we're just going to look at each other and say, wow, look at that. We had a remarkable year, and not just for the people in the Quad Cities. I want to put us on the map.
Absolutely.
I mean, I want people to know that, you know, just like fighting, I'm going to take, you know, let's back up 10 years ago when Militich, you know, and Pat, happy birthday. It's
Happy
Pat
birthday,
Militich's
Pat.
birthday.
Yeah.
That was exciting when we had a lot of guys in right here in town that trained at the same gym that I did, you know, on a worldwide level, right? Well, we've got talent like that here, I think. I mean, you know, Maya's taking it up a step, you know, and Andy and you know, there's just so many, the Kais, I mean, there's just so many, there's a lot of good talent around here.
Yes, there is.
And that's all I'm just trying. So I'm super excited about it. I can't wait until the weather breaks, and then I'm probably going to freeze up. And I got to say, too, this very well might be Sonny's last show, because he's getting deployed. And that's going to be tough losing him, man. So thank you, Sonny, for all you've done. You're
Absolutely.
amazing.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, go jump on the mic. Yeah.
We will emotional.
Yeah.
It is
I
emotional.
love this kid, man. This kid has done everything.
He's been amazing.
I've thrown this guy things that I thought was impossible, and he just handles it. So it's going to be very tough shoes to fill. Wish him the best.
Absolutely, son.
And that's it.
Yeah, Sonny Wynn, you are the master, no doubt about it. And
No doubt.
And like Kelly, I mean, we've been on site and threw him curveballs. We were at the Rotting Custom Show, and so well here's what I have in mind, and I know we probably can't do it. Well, yeah, we can do that. And boom, all of a sudden we got a camera out doing live interviews in the middle of the QCCA Expo Center. So.
He's a rock star, and I you know, I'm happy that he's doing what he's doing, because he's in the service, and I'm proud of him for doing all that. But I don't know, the guy's a rock star, and I didn't deserve having his help. I didn't, but he's been amazing.
Well, and like Brad said, we thank him for his service, not necessarily for done right, but for letting us being able to do this. What other country?
For sure.
Absolutely.
What other country be able to do a racing podcast like this if it wasn't for people that were defending it like Sonny?
So I'm going to say this with all the best of luck, brother. I'll go out there and break a leg.
Break a leg.
Soon.
That has been the standing joke off air. That has been the standing joke. Self-inflicted or yeah.
It's not terrible.
Derek Wilson was going to get him on an ATV out of his house, and we were planning a wreck or something. But anyway, and we thank everybody that's been on the Facebook. Jenny Smith, of course, part of the Peterson Family Promotions. Thank you, Done Right TV. We thank you, Jenny, for you and all the Petersons, what you're doing over there at the Bull Ring. Chuck Hobbs, he's on there every single week, and we'll have more of his type motorsports. I know he's got the big motorsports in the mall coming up, and he's got the motorsports in the mall coming up in Sterling Rock Falls. So we appreciate that coming up. That's at the end of the week, and so we start winding things down. Time to throw in our local racing birthdays, and the only one I had was Pat Militich. Happy birthday! And I know a good friend of all of us here at Done Right TV, and Pat, happy birthday to you. Some other birthdays this past week from the racing world. Sprint car great Freddie Raymer really got the sprint car racing going out in Pennsylvania and all that many years ago. So he celebrated a birthday this week. IndyCar's Ed Carpenter. Kyle Krisiloff, who races stock cars, but he's the son of IndyCar veteran Steve Krisiloff, had a birthday this week. USAC open wheel great Cody Swanson also this week. The late Buck Baker, born this week in 1919, and also the late Jimmy Clark, born in 1936 this week. Greg Weld, we've all heard of Weld Wheels and all that. And he got that going, the Weld family, and of course a big open wheel racing star as well. Born this week in 1944, NASCAR driver Rick Mast, NHRA great Eddie Hill. And I remember Eddie racing into the silver-haired years, and he was the one, I believe he was sponsored by Pennzoil and had the gray hair and the gray mustache and all that. Kurt Chelmerdine from NASCAR, Tony Pendragon, who started in the NHRA, and Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon got him hooked on late models, on dirt late models, and so he and his brother Cruz had dirt late models for a while. NASCAR's Jim Thirkettle, he really helped the Western swing of NASCAR back in the day. Danny Sullivan, remember him? Spin and win at Indy. Celebrated his 70th birthday this week. IndyCar driver Teo Fabi. And then also I pulled up just this little racing. This week, back in 1917, the George Washington Sweepstakes AAA Champ Car Series race was run, and that was the 1917 version of Indy cars back at the old Ascot Speedway in California. It was a 1 mile dirt track at that time. Earl Cooper won with an average speed of 68.35 miles per hour. That was this week back in 1917. That just happened to catch my eye. So we're coming down on the checker flag of this version of the GoFast podcast, and you know, one thing, Kelly, is what, thanks to Sonny and Jacob and all that, where we've expanded. Not only are we Facebook and YouTube, but on all the podcast formats.
Yes, and I can't name them.
I named three. I named the three that Sonny told me.
And we're gonna get better at this stuff.
We actually have 7.
7.
We have 7 podcasts.
And I know we're on Spotify, and we're on iTunes, we're on Google Play.
Which is 3 major ones.
And that's 3 major ones that we're on.
Everyone listen to. Those are the 3 main ones.
That's all in the book you're writing, right, Sonny? You're gonna leave us.
Spotify and podcasts are the only 2 that I listen to, unless I'm watching them on YouTube Live.
Amazing where we're going with this.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
We have one more birthday too, kind of.
Okay.
Kind of, sort of a birthday. And I don't know what day it is, but it's this month, so it's like birthday month. This is my March is my 3rd year sober.
Oh, congratulations, man! That is awesome.
So I don't know what day it was, but I just know it was 3 years ago in March that I had my last drink. And so
Fantastic.
And ever since then, man, it's been off to the races. I mean, it's been. I wish I'd have done it sooner. It's crazy how my life has just turned around. I mean, look at where we're at. And there's no way I could have. I'd be in a bar somewhere. I wouldn't be doing this kind of stuff. So
no wonder your brain goes 100 miles an hour all the time.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
No,
I'm proud of you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, Brad, we got a great season of racing coming up.
Thrilled to death and really looking forward to it. Can't get here quick enough. Like I said, the way the season wrapped up last year, and then Peterson's taken over the bull ring. It's been a long winter. I'm ready to get up there and cheer on several people again.
Oh, so ready.
So ready.
Oh my gosh.
Well, if you look at it, Tyler Soppe is going to get his feet wet, and several of the other, some of the other local drivers, Shane Paris from Muscatine, and a couple others are heading over to Nebraska this weekend, and so hopefully we'll have good news from the local drivers next week. Hopefully we'll have Tyler Soppe on as well to talk about his weekend. Looks like the weather's going to cooperate for now, maybe a little chilly, but they should get both the nights of racing in over in Beatrice.
One more thing I want to bring up, since it is racing season, and I've already talked to a lot of drivers about this, is we have internet that's available, that is mobile, that is unlimited data that we actually stream from on a daily basis. So if you want to watch our streams out of your haulers and out of your your trailers and stuff, I can set you up with internet. So even at your house, if your internet doesn't work, I've actually and I don't know if I told you, but I'm getting MetroNet installed at my house today, and they're about half done.
Sweet.
Because I had to go to work on a big job today, but I'll let you know how that is, and I will be selling that. But if you guys know me, I won't sell anything that I don't
believe in,
that I haven't tried and tested. So anybody looking for any kind of TV or internet, the internet thing gets you TV and everything else. So that's kind of what the people have been going. They're going streaming, so this way you'll be able to watch our streams, from your toter. So
That's amazing. Well, everything that we have used out in the field, Kelly sells, and that's what we use.
yeah, and that's how we're funding this too. So we appreciate everybody's support through this whole thing. And we're super excited about getting this thing going. And if anybody needs any of my help in anything home, home audio, television, internet, Sling Studio production, I guess. We're producers, now,
Right?
I guess.
Yeah, I guess. I'm just a guy that shows up and talks. So
Figuring it out. So, but happy to help, and I'm just super excited about getting going this year.
Brett Severson just said, "Hook me up at both tracks so I don't have to hotspot race paths."
I got you. I got you.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, Brad. Thanks for coming in, man.
It's
This has been a
pleasure.
blast.
It's a good time.
It has, and that brings a checker flag out on this version of the GoFast podcast. And schedule coming up again, the Spring Nationals, IMCA Spring Nationals over in Beatrice, Nebraska. A lot of local drivers heading that way, or what we consider local. We see them at Davenport, East Moline, all of those tracks, CJ, that kind of thing. And Jeremiah Hurst, part of Team Done Right and Roberts Motorsports, they open up the season the end of this month down in Donaldson with the Thaw Brawl for the Mars Series. So that's what's coming up there. And so and then practice at East Moline on April 5th. Practice at Davenport on April 3rd. Can't believe it's right around the corner, guys. But it is. Yeah,
Can't be
really.
here soon enough.
Yeah.
No
I've
kidding.
agreed.
Especially with the great weather we've had. Checker flags out. We thank again Brad Cook for joining us, for Kelly Jeffries, for Sonny and Jacob over on the controls. I'm Rob Hinckley. We'll talk to you again next Monday night, 6 o'clock here on Go Fast. God bless and good night.
Good job, everybody.